Welcome back, everybody. I'm really excited to welcome yet another member of the martial arts, Hall of Fame or Hall of Fames, because it's multiple for our next guest, Silvio Simac, somebody who's been recommended by people that I've had on, somebody who's a wonderful martial artist and an actor, and a person who I have seen in many films without realizing that it was him. So I was very happy to make that connection. So please welcome to the program. You're in UK right now, am I correct?
I am based in UK. Yes, I'm based in London.
Perfect. Well, so welcome from the other side of the pond, Silvio Simac.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and it's nice to be connecting with everyone out there.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and it's beautiful for you outside. I keep looking at what's behind you. It's sunny. It's wonderful. I love that. And it's true, right? The connection, especially nowadays with COVID. I know, this is a little bit of a problem, when we're talking about being able to connect not in person, but over the Zoom. There are much bigger problems in the world going on, but we're just happy that this is possible. So I know that Alan introduced us, and I'm very happy that he did. Thank you, Alan.
Right.
Alan Delaby, if people are wondering, which Alan.
That's right. Correct.
Yeah. So in doing some background on you, I realized quickly that I've seen you in many of the films that I really enjoy, and working with the martial artists and martial arts actors that I truly admire, and I've seen you pretty much with all of them, with the exception of just a few guys. So let's kind of let people know a little bit about you. I believe you were born in Croatia, which is a beautiful, beautiful country. I had a chance to visit it, a year ago, and I found it to be just simply gorgeous, gorgeous place. So you were born in Croatia. How did your life kind of take you to UK?
Yes, very correct. I was born in Croatia. It's a very small country, only 4.5 million population,
Yep.
in a very small coastal town.
Mm-hmm.
And I was born in 1970, so I think clearly I was very much inspired by Bruce Lee, who made such a huge impact worldwide on the silver screen, with his physique as well as the way he moved. So I think as a very small child growing up, I probably didn't have too many people that influenced me or influenced my direction in life. But Bruce Lee was probably one of the very, very first people that's had a big impact on me as a child, who's influenced me in some shape or form to look into sports, to take up weight training as well as martial arts simultaneously, and to enhance myself as a martial artist.
Mm-hmm. And you started in Taekwondo, so I don't know how, again, what was popular in Croatia. I grew up in Ukraine, so when I was growing up in Ukraine, I'm a few years younger than you are. In terms of martial arts, there was judo, there was sambo, which are the kind of the traditional
Sure.
within where I come from. But then there was also karate. So I kind of did more of the judo, and then I went into karate. I didn't know about kind of the Chinese martial arts other than the films that I've seen. I didn't see any of them taught until obviously now everything is available. But by that time I came to
Of course.
So for you, it was Taekwondo?
It was Taekwondo. It was ITF Taekwondo. And I remember when I first took it up, I had no idea what Taekwondo was. But my friend referred me to Taekwondo, said, I've watched it in a film called No Retreat, No Surrender. Right. It was one of Jean-Claude Van Damme's first films.
Yep.
So I had no idea what Taekwondo was. So I looked it up, and I think what really appealed to me is I read something about Taekwondo being scientific methods of delivering your techniques and punches. So that was the initial thing that really appealed to me in terms of picking up the art, because it made sense. I was always the kind of person to question things. I would never like to accept things as people tell me. I would question, why is this done in such a way? So if I'm practicing something, it really had to make sense that it was effective and it will serve me well. So that was the initial point why I took up Taekwondo. I was so enthusiastic. My belts changed color very, very quickly. I was competing very frequently. Mm-hmm. And before you know it, within 2.5 years, I acquired a black belt in Taekwondo. Wow. But then I wanted to explore different avenues of acquiring more knowledge. So I get perspective of different disciplines and martial arts from a different point of view. Mm-hmm. So I took up Hapkido and karate and kickboxing, Wing Chun, various systems over the years. So my knowledge on the topics of martial arts and self-defense and nutrition and science was more complete. And I can honestly say now, 33 years later, I'm still learning, and that's why I'm very happy to be engaging in doing something where I can always grow, I can always expand, and I can always improve myself. Even 33 years later, there are sides that I can still work on and improve and nurture, for sure.
Absolutely. And we never stop learning, right? In martial arts.
No, for sure. Of course not.
There's never, I mean, we're always students. And that's the part that I love, when you're speaking to people and they tell you that, yes, I know this and I'm great at this. Oh, okay, then you're very early in your process.
Of course.
You haven't realized just how much you have yet to learn. So absolutely agree.
Well, funny thing is you say that, but something I've really managed to learn over the course of the last 7 months since pandemic, COVID-19 kicked in, is I reverted back to the ancient Japanese philosophy of Kaizen. And Kaizen is basically a notion of philosophy that everything happens for a reason, and change is inevitable. Change is an inevitable part of the world we live in, the universe. So we should always embrace change as being good and use this opportunity to grow in some shape or form. So this is exactly what I did when pandemic started off, COVID-19. I said to myself, everything happens for a reason. There must be a reason why this is happening. So maybe this is time for me to grow spiritually, to forgive and forget, to heal the broken hearts, to heal and mend broken relationships. And that's literally what I did. You know, I could have been scared and worried for the pandemic, but I really implemented the ancient Japanese Kaizen. The change is good.
Yeah, and that's great, and that's one of the things that I really appreciated as I started doing my research on you, because you talk about meditation, and you're talking about focus, and you're talking about energy, and these are all the things that I get really excited about, and why I love martial arts, because there is that spirituality component that comes with it. So
Sure.
agree. One of the reasons why I started the show is because I wanted something positive to come out of the time when we're just stuck at home. So I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to continue learning, and that was the impetus for the show being started. So I'm glad that you were able to find time with now having more time and kind of not doing the regular things. You used it in a positive manner.
Well, I guess you have to, and I think having grown up very much being in touch with philosophies of martial arts, and yourself, I'm sure Bruce Lee majored in philosophy at university, and he very much encapsulated all the philosophies of martial arts in life into a very, very clever methodology and sayings, which inspired me in so many ways. So I think naturally I followed suit along that pathway.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's your favorite thing that influenced you in terms of his sayings?
I think that there are quite a few. Maybe one of the earlier ones which I remember, which didn't make sense when I watched it because I was only a small child, which didn't understand the philosophy behind it. But if you remember 1973 Enter the Dragon film, he slaps the little kid across the head and he says to him, "Don't think, feel." Yeah. And I never understood what he meant. But at the end of the day, I mean, we live in a feeling universe where pretty much the same thing I can relate to acting. When it comes to acting, the only thing which is real is the emotion. Emotion is the only real thing. Everything else is an illusion. Even the life that we live in, the only thing which is real and tangible is the emotion itself, the emotion that you carry with it. And emotion gives life to everything. When you put emotion behind your techniques, when you put emotion behind music, art or acting, that's when you bring it to life. So this is another thing which I've obviously picked up from maybe from Bruce Lee, putting the emotion behind everything that you do.
No, that's beautiful. I completely agree with you. And you mentioned acting, right? I speak to a lot of actors. I'm an actor myself, and the way that the audience connects with you is not through your action. They connect with you through your emotion, through whether they feel you being a real person.
Sure.
That's what they're connecting to. So completely agree with you there. For me, by the way, with Bruce, it's a more conventional one, but it's the one that stuck with me and will always be with me of Be Like Water. And for
Oh,
me,
for sure.
that really kind of I keep coming back to it of just the ability to flow. And I think my life in general and some of the problems that I had and the ways that I get stuck, I revert back to the flow. The more I get back into the flow, the more things
Of
naturally happen.
course.
So I keep coming back to that phrase of "be like water, my friend."
I agree. In that sense, I think in life, it's inevitable we're going to be faced with challenges and obstacles and problems. And exactly going back to this philosophy or this saying,
Yeah.
if you're like water, you can adapt. You can adapt to different environments and change. And water does exactly that. Water becomes ice. It can be soft. It can evaporate. It can be any shape, any color. It has no taste. So very much so. If I could live my life to adapt to situations like water, I'd be the happiest person in the world.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think you're doing really well and have been doing really well. So you going kind of back into the acting for a moment. Now, you did martial arts. You were very successful. You were a world champion, and then you had an opportunity to be in the movie. Did that opportunity arise because of what you were doing, and somebody saw you at a demonstration or a tournament, and they said, "Hey, I have a movie. I'd love to have you in it," or how did that come about?
Good question. My first role was in Hong Kong production,
Hmm.
Black Mask 2, which was alongside Scott Adkins.
I know.
He's
I
quite a
love.
known actor now.
Yep.
The Black Mask 1 was starring Jet Li, but
Mhm.
the second part was with Andy On. Andy On plays the lead hero.
Yep.
Scott Adkins plays the villain. I play his sidekick.
Mhm.
So I was working for university at the time for commercial development, and I submitted myself to a few agents because I was so keenly, passionately competing in martial arts.
Yeah.
I had a phone call from a friend saying they're looking for martial arts guys for this agency. So I sent my things off.
Mhm.
2 weeks later, I had a phone call from the agent saying, "I've got this job for you in Thailand. Would you like to go to Thailand for 3 months?" I said, "Hell yeah!"
Yeah.
I packed my bags straight away. I
Mhm.
was off to Thailand. I spent 3 months out there. I was very much trained in martial arts, not in acting by this stage.
Mhm.
Fell in love with the whole industry. Really fell in love with working with people who were cream of the crop in their field, who really specialized in so many things, and who had striven very, very high up with their ambitions and dreams.
Mhm.
So I fell in love with it. I came back and I thought to myself, I've got to really increase my chances of succeeding in this industry. So continue with my training as an actor. So I enrolled myself into acting schools and started doing workshops to improve my chances of getting jobs. So that's how my journey started off. And this was 20 years ago.
Yeah, and again, you've mentioned that Scott is a pretty famous actor now, which is absolutely true. But I remember, Scott Adkins because I was watching him. I always watch martial arts films. This is kind of one of my passions. Any new
Okay.
film that comes out, I usually watch it as long as it's available. And a lot of the Hong Kong films, it takes a little while for them to become available to us in
Yeah.
the United
Yeah.
States. But I've seen Scott for a long, long time, so I was always kind of familiar with him, and it's great. I love Scott Adkins. He's one of my favorites, and that's when I was looking at who you've worked with. You worked with Jet Li. My goodness, who doesn't know Jet Li? You worked with Scott. You worked with Donnie Yen. I was trying to see if you worked with Tony Jaa, but I don't think you had a chance to work with.
I haven't. No.
Yeah.
With regards to Scott Adkins, I've worked with him on 7 different productions.
Yeah.
After our first film, Black Mask 2 in Thailand, we became very close friends.
Mhm.
And he only lived an hour and a half drive from where I am. And then even closer, 10 minutes drive.
Yep.
So we became very close friends for a number of years. So we still are friends. We just don't get to see each other as often
He's very.
because
Yep.
we've got individual responsibilities and families and everything.
Yeah.
But we pulled each other to work together on various productions, and
Mhm.
we did 7 films and TV shows together, plus all the live shows and everything.
Yeah.
But he's a great guy. He's very very talented,
Mhm.
extremely hardworking, and
Yeah.
I would say he's a perfectionist. He's a perfectionist. He'll do a take, and director will say, "I'm happy with that. That's a good take." And Scott thought, "No, I can deliver this better than I just did."
Mhm.
So director would give him the respect and say, "Okay, let's shoot again if you think you can do better than this." So no, he's very much dedicated to his craft, very much so.
Yeah, what I loved about Scott, again, I really, love the martial arts aspect of it, but he really views himself as an actor. So it's the
Sure.
actor first, martial arts is a part of that, but he really strives for the acting, and that's the part that resonated with me. And I've seen the fight with you and Boyka in Undisputed 2. I think that's where you.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I've seen that. I think just very, very good guy. And have you had a chance to work with Michael J. White? I didn't see anything there. Was he
I've
another film?
worked with him twice. Yes, I've worked with
You
him
did?
twice.
Okay.
Very, very closely in Romania on
Okay.
a TV series called Metal Hurling Chronicles. It's
Mm.
actually a French. It's a French production.
Okay.
It's a French production. It's being shot in English. It's been going on for a number of years. I worked with him very closely in Metal Hurling Chronicles. But we were on the same production, Undisputed 2, although we didn't get to work with each other. We saw each other on
Yeah.
set,
Yeah.
but I didn't get to work with him. So yes, I did 2 productions with him. One very closely, the other one was just we were not interacting on the set.
Mhm.
Another wonderful person, martial artist, phenomenal, and
Yeah.
he's got great screen presence.
And then you were on Man of Tai Chi, which is a movie I really enjoyed. I love Tai Chi. For me, from the martial arts perspective, I'm the soft kind of internal arts. That's
Hmm.
more me in terms of the personality. Even though I'm tall and lanky, so I probably would do more
Yeah,
like Wayne and Shaolin. But
sure.
I loved the Man of Tai Chi, so I remember your fight there. That was very good. How did you
Right.
like working with Tiger?
I first of all, I was very impressed to have had the opportunity to work with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the day when he phoned me up and he popped up on the screen and he said, "Why didn't you fly over to China a week early just to acclimatize to time difference?"
Mhm.
And although I arrived on set 1 week before the shoot, it took me. Wow, I didn't acclimatize. I was really struggling to sleep. I had
Wow.
major issues sleeping. So I've got a funny story to tell actually from A Man of Tai Chi. There was a bit in the film where I'm
Okay.
on the floor and Tiger Chan is punching me, he's hitting me.
Yeah.
And as you know, I mean, sometimes it takes hours and hours just to shoot
Yeah.
the same scene. At one point, I fell asleep on the floor. I was so tired, I fell asleep on the floor. And Tiger, he thought. Well, I pretended I wasn't asleep. I just pretended I had something stuck in my throat.
Yeah.
But I literally just fell asleep because I did not sleep a whole week. Coming to China, I was so jet lagged. I really struggled sleeping. But at one point I did. I closed my eyes and I fell asleep as I was fighting him.
That's
That
awesome.
was a very funny one. But Keanu Reeves as a person, one of the most wonderful guys I've had the opportunity to work with.
Yeah.
Very kind, very compassionate, very understanding. Really nice guy. I've met him twice. Met him in LA afterwards as well.
Mm.
He's the kind of person who'll come on film set, and on film set you've got 150, 200 people running around making sure the operation is running smooth.
Yeah.
So you've got guys who are in charge of the wardrobe and makeup and this and that, so many different things.
Mm.
He would come and bring me a chair. Please take a seat. I was like, I can't sit on the chair. It's got your name on it. So
Yeah.
if the director tells you to sit on his chair, you sit on his chair.
Yeah.
Very kind. I had a great story. My dressing room was closed off by the guy was in charge. He took off to a restaurant in Beijing, so I couldn't get access to my room.
Yeah.
And my room was next to Keanu Reeves' room.
Okay.
And the guy said he's going to be back in hour and a half, 2 hours for me to get my things back from the room.
Right.
So Keanu said to me, come in. So I thought, brilliant. I've got opportunity to get to know the guy and talk to him. So he invited me to his room and we had this long chat for maybe 2.5 hours by the time they opened my room and let me out.
Hmm. No, everything I heard about Keanu is that is similar to what you've mentioned, is that he's really genuine, good guy, and hopefully I'll get an opportunity to talk to him. But he's somebody who I've watched, obviously, growing up, and then he's had a remarkable career. So I hope he continues going.
He's a great human being. Just is a really great human being. That's one thing I have to say. Great human being.
Yeah, that's great. You mentioned how long the scenes take. So again, from a pure acting perspective, I know that the hours are long and there are many takes and there are lots of coverages and all sorts of things that we're doing. But you have an added difficulty of doing that, plus having to do martial arts and proper choreography during it. How does that work? And how much goes into it in terms of the rehearsal of, here's going to be the fight choreography, and then how many takes does it take?
Very good questions. With big budget movies, obviously they can allocate more resources and time to get the rehearsals done and to shoot
Right.
as well.
Mm.
Then you're gonna get sufficient time, probably 5 to 7 days rehearsals.
Good.
Unleashed with Jet Li.
Mm-hmm.
That took about 7 days, 7 days rehearsals.
Wow.
7 days rehearsals and probably another 7 days shoots. Yeah, approximately 7 days shoot. So very, very, very long days. Even Transporter 3 with Jason Statham.
I know.
It was a big budget film, so they want to make sure they cover every single angle. On low budget films, they can do everything within a day or two, but then you're compromising your quality. But I'm sure you've heard of the saying before, for every second that you see on screen, it takes about an hour to set up. So every second that's captured on film, it takes about an hour to set up. Lights, this and that, wardrobe. So it's a very, very painfully slow process for most of us. The only thing I would say challenging for martial arts is sustaining injuries and getting exhausted and tired through the takes, because sometimes you may have to do 10, 12 takes of the physical sequence, which can be quite tiring.
Yep.
And what happened on Transporter 3, it was a very basic technique. I did a roundhouse kick to Jason Statham.
Right.
My muscles were probably cold. I've been warming up, cooling down all day long. And I tore my hamstring, my left leg, which was ever so painful. It took me over a year to recover from.
Yeah.
But when it comes to doing the physical stuff, dangers are obviously being injured, getting exhausted by the end of it.
Yeah. It's really tough. I can't imagine. I know. I heard, going back to Scott, when he was working with Donnie on the last Ip Man film, he was saying, just how exhausting that is, and how much dedication it takes, and how much of a beating he received during it, just to make sure that they get it right, because things, even though you're not hitting, you're still hitting, and you're going to get hit. So I can't even imagine of how difficult it is to do acting while doing martial arts at the same time, take after take.
Well, you see, in most films, you can do a method called stacking. You're gonna place the camera behind someone's shoulder to make you look like you're connecting. In Ip Man 4, I noticed lots of the fight scenes were done from the profile shot.
Yeah.
So it means you have to make contact, because you can't cheat it. You can't cheat the angles. You can see if they're hitting each other. So they were really hitting each other in the film. Yeah. Most of the shots were profile shots. So the contact was there. They were hitting each other for real. He wasn't pulling back. Maybe not so hard, but there was contact there. There was contact there for sure.
And how does it get done again? So from a pure technical perspective, and if you're okay releasing that information, that's good. If not, I can respect it. But when we're in a martial arts film, somebody is getting hit, you have the blood. So the blood, I understand, that can be set up. The person could be holding it in the mouth. It's not real blood. But when you have other things that seem like, okay, the person all of a sudden, has a black eye, is that a cut where they cut that scene and then they kind of do it during editing where the person has makeup on, or how does that get done?
Well, with most productions, you would choreograph and rehearse the whole fight scene within that week or 5 days. You have to do your rehearsals. Once you get everything down to a T, they will shoot everything wide angle, the entire fight scene, and then they pick up shots, close-ups of kicks, punches, reactions, and then you would get close-ups of emotional reaction to the hits, bruises, cuts, etc., etc. So yeah, these would be insert shots that you insert afterwards, depending on the angle and depending on the scene that you're doing.
So the editors are doing a ton of work on martial arts.
Oh, of course.
Oh,
that's the movie magic. When you tell people some of these secrets and stories, they're like, oh, wow. But
Yeah.
when it comes to action, I mean, even with Hong Kong, some of the stuff you pick up is amazing. They call it power powder. They put talcum powder
Mm.
on the foot or even inside the hand. So when you hit,
Yeah.
you get this bit of dust, this cloud come from the hand, and your brain will register this subconsciously. It's not something that you think, oh, what is that? To make it look more powerful. So it seems like there was a bit more of an impact. So when
Yeah.
they hit each other, you get a bit of dust coming off the shirt or a jacket. But they use lots of these different techniques to make it more convincing, more realistic.
That's very cool. I love that. Yeah, again, the Transporter 3, Jason Statham. And when people talk about real martial artists versus movie actors who do martial arts, Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves has been studying martial arts for a long time, and I think at this point he's pretty good at it. Now, based on the John Wick series, I know that he works hard at it. Jason Statham, I know, was not necessarily a martial artist. He was a diver, and then he, kind of got into it. But
Right,
is,
right.
level of proficiency. You have to have a level of proficiency in order to execute all those movements.
For sure. But the thing is, with most of these guys, if they're being continuously cast for same sort of genre of films,
Right.
action films or martial arts,
Yeah.
you have to develop your skills in those areas. And as you said rightly yourself, Jason Statham as well as Keanu Reeves, they did. They picked it up along the way and adapted it for the screen, because martial arts in reality are somewhat different to the way you do martial arts on screen.
Right.
So they picked up martial arts on the screen first, and then they learned the martial arts for self-defense afterwards, because there are slight differences in how you do it and what you would do on screen as opposed to real martial arts.
Of course. And I mean, I remember my teacher, because I love kicking as well, and I could kick pretty high. And I grew up on Van Damme, so I wanted to do the spin kicks and all sorts of things. And my teacher very quickly said, "Okay, stop. Don't do any of that, because in a real fight, your kick, if it's anywhere kind of above the knee, during the time that you're trying to execute it, unless you're amazing at it, and unless you're ready at the moment when you need to, and you have adrenaline and everything else rushing, you're not going to do it, and by that time you're going to get hit." So like, you have the things that are wonderful and pretty and great on screen, but then you watch UFC. How many of the things that we really love and that are flashy actually work? Sometimes they do, but very rarely do you see any of them.
Absolutely. But I'm sure, as you've noticed yourself in UFC, simplicity is very effective. Keep it simple, and it's very effective.
Right.
But simplicity doesn't look great in the movies. It doesn't look spectacular. So you have to tweak it, make it look a bit more fun, a bit more exciting. Get the viewers on the edge of their seats, because, like, wow, that was an amazing shot. That's why it's different. On the street, you would hide your technique. You wouldn't show it off. On films, you have to make it larger than life, bigger, much bigger. So it's very exciting. So yes, there are lots of differences in that sense, and maybe something which I've had to adapt to when I made the transition from being a competitor to screen fighting.
Yeah, it's very cool. And then going back to kind of the other things that you're doing, I know you've done a lot of commercials. So do you still do commercial work, or is that more a thing of the past?
Funny thing you say that. I just came across. I've not done it for a while. I came across a photograph this morning, which was from 7 years ago when PlayStation 4 was being released. I did a worldwide TV commercial for PlayStation 4. I play Ken, one of the characters from Street Fighter.
Yeah, I grew up with
and PlayStation apparently has gone through. Street Fighter game has gone through 4 generations or something. It was the longest game ever.
Yeah.
So I play a character in this. So that was one of the last commercials I did, but I did many different ones for Burger King. I did one for Ford, for Sky TV. I did this one for PlayStation. I did quite a few. I've not done it for a while. But yeah, I've done quite a few commercials, and they're always fun to do.
Yeah. And you do a lot of, again, I know you have your training business, and then you've done some training for some actors. I don't remember which films that was for. Can you remind the audience?
I was training Tom Hardy briefly for The Warrior.
Oh, wow.
I trained Scott Adkins, Andy Peters, Eric Roberts, Matthew Marsden, Sarah Carter, Jamie Presley, Holly Valance, quite a few people. Generally, when they're getting ready for a movie, Dan Stevens. When they're getting ready for a movie, I get a phone call from LA. We've got this guy from UK. He's doing an action film. He doesn't know how to throw a punch. He looks too weedy. Can you give him some muscle, make him fit and tough, and teach him how to fight? So yeah, I do get asked occasionally to train people up.
Yeah, Tom Hardy was really impressive in The Warrior. Again, Tom Hardy looks like a tough guy in real life. So I don't know how much of a martial arts background he has, but in Warrior, he looked the part, at least to me, watching from the outside.
No experience at all, none whatsoever. He literally, even his physique, he's transformed his physique within 3.5 months. 3.5 months from when I saw him till he started shooting. He transformed his physique and his skill. And I've got so much respect for him as an actor and a performer. He's so versatile with his acting. You watch his performance in most of the different films. He looks different. His performance is different. I don't know if you watched him in The Legend, the Craze Brothers.
Right.
But his performance was the Bronson. Well, you have to put on the weight. I love him. I think he's great actor, great performer, and very versatile in what he does.
Yeah, he's one of the best actors that I've seen. He's one of the scenes from oh my God, now I forget where he's playing a super well, not a villain, but he's not a hero either. It's not Spider-Man. It's the wow, brain cramp. Anyway, so he's playing the
Venom.
Venom. Thank you.
That's it. Yeah.
In Venom, there are a number of scenes that, from the pure acting perspective, that blew my mind. But when he's in Venom and he's playing the character, and then the character doesn't know that the Venom inside of him is about to throw a punch and do something, and then you see his reaction of something being done, and then he's horrified by it. That, from an acting perspective, is incredibly tough to do. To be surprised and to be horrified by something you're about to do yourself, even though there is CGI and other aspects to it. I have enormous amount of respect for.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah. Perfect. So what do you do? What takes most of your days? Conventionally speaking, we're not talking right now, during COVID time, but I know you're still kind of involved in filming. I know you have your training and you have other things. So what do you focus on mostly?
Mostly, it really varies from time to time. I mean, I could be gone away for 2 months. I was away last year. I was in Romania. I was in US. I was filming quite a bit. I came back. So I juggle. It's never the same, really. I mean, if I'm on a film set, I'll be away for 2 months. When I'm back, I'm running my martial arts academy, or I'm shooting a new program on health and vitality. So it's a bit hard to say. I mean, over the last 6-7 months, because of COVID-19, it's been mainly fitness stuff and producing materials that I can utilize for my school, as well as for the fitness. I've got 2 movies still in the pipeline, which I've not finished. Well, one is a movie, one is a TV series. I'm in the process of finishing them off. One in November, and that's in Romania one, and the one in UK, I think, next month. So we're still in times of uncertainty. It's very difficult to say. But no, my schedules really vary throughout the whole year. I could be very busy with TV and acting stuff, and then it goes quiet like it does for most actors. It's never an ongoing job unless you're very, very lucky, 1% of the top actors. Right. So I'm very lucky and have the opportunity to be able to juggle from my various passions. So I'm not pulling my hairs with frustration in between, like, what am I going to do now?
No, that's great. And I believe you're a father now. How old is your child?
I am a father. That's the best thing that's ever happened to me. He's 5 years old. Wow. He's 5 years old, and he's truly truthfully my teacher, big time. big time I teach in so many ways. And something I've said to my students recently, I've come to realize and appreciate how much we get held back by fear. When we're afraid of something, how much it tends to hold us back. And I've been teaching my kids how to ride a bike this summer during the COVID. And I taught him all the techniques, all the concepts. So 2 weeks later, because I was putting him under too much pressure, he felt the fear, so he just would not ride. So his mummy took him for a ride. She comes back 3 minutes later. She said, "I've taught him to ride a bike." And I said, "Well, no, that was me teaching him, but she removed the fear. He had no fear. And all of a sudden he was riding." And he just made me think how many things in life we go through and we fail to deliver because we're afraid, or we fail to start because we're afraid. But anyway, I learned so much from him in so many different ways. Because if you look at kids are microcosm and we're the macrocosm. But everything that's happening in microcosm happens on a bigger scale. So whatever happens under the microscope is happening in the universe, like a hologram. So absolutely, there's so much for us to learn from the younger ones.
Yeah, agreed. I have two children, and it's a reflection of who I am. And some things I see, I'm looking at the mirror because my daughter is very similar to who I am, and a lot of the things that I've struggled with, she's expressing, and I see that, and it's driving me crazy. But I'm trying to use that as a way, not just to help her overcome these little idiosyncrasies, but to then again help myself get rid of them. So it's
For sure.
interesting spiritual, sometimes frustrating experience.
But nevertheless, we're learning from it. And something I said, I wish I had as good relationship with all humanity as I have with my son, because relationship is unconditional. It's unconditional love, unconditional forgiveness, and total acceptance of who they are. But we don't have this relationship with other humans because we are too often judgmental or not so forgiving, and we've got high expectations, much higher than what we'd expect from ourselves. So you learn about relationships an awful lot as well.
Yeah, and for me, because I'm a very driven person and I have many things that I'm working on and I'm launching and I'm always learning, I found that quite often I fall out of balance, and I don't spend enough time with my children because I'm so selfishly focused on what it is that I'm trying to accomplish.
Sure.
With being so busy, have you found yourself falling into that as well, or you specifically make the time to be with family and everything else off?
I've got to be honest, I've been very good in that way. And I'm the kind of person, if I like this morning, I was up 5 a.m. I've done my bits and pieces. I picked up my kid from school. But there comes a time when I switch my phone off completely, and it's family time. People have asked me like if I can do some work or meet up on a Sunday. And I said, I love my work, I love my job, but Sunday's my day for family. I completely switch off my phone and I give that time and focus to my family. So I've always been pretty good in that way. But it's the same way when I work out in a gym. People hate coming up to me. I've got my earphones on. My focus is 100% on what I'm doing, because far too often you can get distracted to say hello to this, say hello, talk to people, and then 2 hours later you haven't done anything. So I think in this day and age, in this world, we've got too many distractions, too many things we can do from TV, from this to that. So I think it's important to be able to switch off and say to yourself, no, I'm just going to give this time to whether it's your wife or your kids or whatever it is. So I've generally been quite good. I have been quite good in that sense.
Very good. I applaud you for that. I hope that continues for you. It's something I've been struggling with.
Hope so.
Yeah, sometimes I just feel like I'm a really selfish bastard, and that I'm so focused on what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. I lose sight of the other important things in my life.
Sure. It's easy. We'll do that from time to time, but it's important to be able to revert yourself back on that road, and so you appreciate what's important. Otherwise, you get thrown off balance.
And that's where the meditation and Tai Chi comes for me. If I
Sure.
if I make that a part of my routine, then I'm a much better and a much more well-balanced person.
Well, something you mentioned earlier on, something that's profoundly, which it's very simple, very basic, but profoundly, which I keep getting reminded of day-to-day basis. is through martial arts is everything is made up of energy. Energy cannot be destroyed or created. You can only pass the energy from one form to another. So this tells us that we should give first, then you will receive. So what you can only get back what you give. If you've given nothing, there's nothing going to come back your way. And that's the nature of energy. You can't cheat this universal law. It's like cheating gravity. So the more you give, the more you get back. This is just a general rule. But you must first give, whether it's love, compassion, forgiveness, hard work, exercise, whatever it is. And I think Muhammad Ali said, people say I'm lucky, but the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Right. Yeah.
Because once again, it's that law of universe, the energy. You cannot cheat it. The more you give of yourself, the more you're going to reap back in terms of rewards you get from it. So yeah, I'm continuously reminded of it through martial arts. The art of giving, the art of giving.
Yeah, absolutely. And then your symbol, and something that I see used often with your materials, is a dragon. What importance does the symbol of a dragon have in your life?
Well, actually, if you note the dragon, I've got it's a tattoo here. My partner's got one as well. It's shape of an S, which obviously it's my initials, Silvio Simac. But more importantly, and this is a very early stages of my training and development, I've identified and realized what components are necessary to make an athlete complete. So I identified it under the S factor. One is skill, speed, strength, stamina, suppleness, and strategy. So skill, speed, strength, stamina, suppleness, and strategy. And if you remove one component out of the equation, then it's going to cease to work. It's like pulling a small component away from transistor radio. It will cease to work. So it's very important for us as not just as athletes, but as human beings, that we are nurturing ourselves in all aspects of our life, mind, body, and spirit. Because if we neglect one area, it will create imbalance, and then we get disease, discomfort, unhappiness, whatever it is. So that's what the dragon itself means, the S factor: skill, speed, strength, stamina, and suppleness, which is the components which make any athlete complete. But funnily enough, it resembles my initials, which is good as well.
Yep. And then we can extrapolate from there, the S in Superman, which means
could be yes, for sure.
We can go there as well. One thing that I've heard before, and I want to ask you, I don't think that that's an issue, but from the pure acting perspective, actors are taught not to carry a lot of muscle, because when you carry a lot of muscle, then sometimes they find themselves getting more stiff, and the emotions are a little, the emotions are more in a struggle, because there needs to be flexibility in order to kind of project what needs to be done. Have you found that to be an issue, or because of stretching, because of your working out, that's not an issue?
To be honest with you, I get more of a stereotype than anything else in terms of stiffness or flexibility. I've always maintained my stretching, right. Although for a period of 4 or 5 years, I have not really stretched as much as I should have done. So I picked up some injuries along the way. My lower back, I'm okay now, but still today I stretch every single day. When it's time for me to relax and maybe watch some TV or news, I sit on the floor, I open my legs, and I'm stretching. But maybe compensating for the time that I've not been stretching, because you know what I said to you, if you're not nurturing different aspects of your wellness, you're going to get yourself off balance. And I think I focused for a period of 4 or 5 years too much on strength, not on flexibility, and that threw me off balance and created some injuries. So now I do make sure I'm doing my stretching, I'm maintaining flexibility. So like you said earlier on, I flow gracefully as opposed to being stiff. Right. And that's the biggest difference. If you watch Korean and Japanese martial arts, are very rigid, almost robotic. And Chinese martial arts are very fluid and flowing, like you said in Tai Chi. But it reflects on their culture, because Chinese practice Zen Buddhism, which is a lot more flowing. Japanese are very much regimented and rigid, and same as Koreans. But it's very funny and interesting how martial arts have developed, very much reflecting on the culture of that country.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Indian martial arts, right? The whole idea of Russian martial arts. It's fascinating. All of that is fascinating to me. I love the Indonesian martial arts. There's whole host of things. Like at this point, I'm not studying martial arts anymore. I'm just practicing Tai Chi. But as my kids are growing up, they've done Taekwondo. I want my son to do something else. I want him to do maybe Silat and get into some other applications that I think, God forbid, he'll never have to use. But I want him to be prepared for. So the martial arts world is just so rich in different traditions that you kind of pick what works for you and go with that.
Of course, and maybe something which might be good for me to add at this stage is what really interestingly got me into martial arts in the first place, or namely Taekwondo. Why I chose to do Taekwondo is I mentioned the scientific side, and if you notice with most sports that you watch now, from soccer to boxing to tennis, over the years, most of these sports and athletes have been evolving. They're breaking records every year in every Olympics, every World Championships. They're breaking records. They're running faster. So what contributed to this advancement? Well, it's our knowledge. It's our knowledge of human anatomy. It's our knowledge of sports science, of biomechanics, of kinesiology, of neurology. All of these different areas which can make athletes superior, more complete, how to train. When I started martial arts, there wasn't enough of that. Most martial arts were very, very traditional. There wasn't much of an evolution of it. So I started studying very, very early on. And I remember for my 4th degree black belt in Taekwondo, I wrote a thesis on biomechanics of martial arts. And I published one book, and I had the contribution to another book, Biomechanics of Martial Arts, which looks into study of movements through different martial arts. And in a way, it's comparing the effectiveness of each and every move, because most martial arts that were devised hundreds of years ago, there wasn't sufficient knowledge in the area of kinesiology or biomechanics for us to be able to conclusively say this technique works because of X, Y, and Z. Boxing is pure science, and I think it's very beautiful the way boxing as a sport has embraced these advancements in science and technology to make the boxers more superior. Most martial arts still haven't done it, apart from MMA. MMA are doing the scientific, good, advanced methods. Most of the traditional martial arts, unfortunately, are still practicing the traditional ways and methods, which still plays some role to a degree in our training and development. But they could be choosing safer, more advanced and scientific methods. But this has been my particular interest, area of interest, biomechanics, because there's so many different martial arts, and I was always interested to see, okay, which way would be the most effective way to deliver this technique or that technique, and why, and centrifugal force, the inertia of the movement, all of those things that were boggling me in the head, because as a kid, I would just bow to my master, yes, master, yes, master, but you weren't allowed to question them. If you question your master, you're being disrespectful. Even though the master had no answers to why it was performed in such a way. I'll say to my students now, don't believe everything I tell you. Make sure you question it, because I could be lying to you. If I don't know, I'm going to try and find out. But I think in the days of dictatorship and communism, maybe you have to accept as you're told. But I never was the kind of person to accept the truth, whatever they tell me. I really had to dwell on it and think, why is it done in such a way?
It's you and I are the same. It's our generation, I think. There is some aspects of, they call us the rainbow children generation, where we're not going to be taking anything for granted. We're going to be questioning it. So it could be that, but I'm the same way.
Sure.
The first time I started taking Tai Chi, I quit because the master, who's a Chinese master, he's very accomplished, and he would say, perform this movement, and I would ask why. I would ask, well, I know Tai Chi is about energy. Where is the energy being generated? How is it going?
Sure.
No answers, and I couldn't handle it because I need to know. I need to know. Of
course, yeah.
I implement it, and it's a part of my own kind of study and self-realization. So
sure, you need to be clear with your techniques in the head. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. By the way, you've mentioned kind of the biomechanics. I saw an interesting video a couple of years ago where they did a kind of a scientific study of which martial arts has the most powerful kick, and they tracked it, and they brought different martial artists to a studio where they were doing that. I'm going to try to find the video and put it below here, but from my,
National Geographic. There was National Geographic channel. I think I've seen it.
maybe
National Geographic.
I
Yeah.
remember specifically that capoeira had the most powerful kick because of the
Okay.
wind up that they were going with. So that was just another interesting tidbit.
Interesting.
On that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know you're interested in biomechanics, so maybe an interesting video for you to.
For sure. Yeah, I'd love to follow up on it.
Yep. Perfect. Well, last question for you. If you had a chance to go back in time and talk to the young version of yourself as you were getting into acting, and you had one bit of advice that you can give yourself, what would that advice be?
Never to be afraid to ask. I think I look back and I regret, why didn't you ask so-and-so? Why didn't you ask him to go and work with him? I was always very reserved in that sense. If they want me, they'll ask me. I don't want to go and impose myself on them. So I would say, don't be afraid. Just go and ask. I was always the kind of person, I don't want to be imposing. If they think I'm good enough to work with them, they'll call me or they'll see me, they'll spot me. So I was never the kind of person to impose myself onto them. But now I would say, go and do it. Go and talk to them. Introduce yourself. Give them a handshake. Say your name. Anything. Just to connect in some shape or form, so you can get to know each other. So that's probably the only thing I would say. But I was very shy, believe it or not. As a kid, I was very shy. That's why maybe I was a bit reserved to go forth and speak out and introduce myself and say, "Come on, give me the job."
I think that's, again, from what I heard, that was the first job Van Damme got was by doing that. Just went into the producer's office, did the splits, and said,
Right.
I can
Right.
So yeah, you have to do
Right.
it. By the way, I started doing the splits between the chairs because of Van Damme. That was so anyway. Thank you
Brilliant.
so much.
Brilliant.
It's a real pleasure to meet you. It's a real pleasure to speak with you and to learn from you. I really
Likewise, pleasure. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and all the best.
Thank you. And thanks to everybody for tuning in. We really appreciate it. We know you love acting and martial arts as much as we do, and that's why we do this for you. Thank you.